What's up, everybody? Welcome to the weekly UFC bets video. This weekend is for Cannonier versus Gregory Rodrigues. My name is Young Pasty, aka the White Boy Wonder. And I'm here today to give you all of my official bets for this weekend's card. I'm going to give you all of my leans, so bets, plays, props I like and I'm considering, but I have not put official money on yet. And lastly, my stayaways, so bets and fights I recommend you do not put your hard-earned money on. Recapping last week, we had a good week, guys, plus 1.217 units, okay? I'll take profit any day of the week. And for the picks, we went 8-3 on the picks too, so it was a solid week last week. Let's roll that momentum into this week, okay? If you're new to the channel, subscribe, like, comment, share, click all the buttons for the algorithm. Your support goes a long way. Also, subscribe to the Patreon. That's where you can see all of my bets when I put them in and get the odds where they're at when I put them in, because stuff goes crazy. Especially this week, I've seen odds have been, money's coming in hard on a lot of these people and odds have been going crazy. So, yeah, check out the Patreon. It's free. Link is in the description. But let's get to it, guys. The official bets for this weekend's card. 4 of them coming your way. Bet number 1. We got Yousef Zalal and Jose Delgado. A 2-pick parlay. We got it at minus 136. We're putting 1.25 units on it. Now, as I just said before, got to hit up that Patreon because this is currently sitting at minus 200. But I'm very, very confident in this play. If you want to put 2 units on it, get a unit back, I wouldn't be mad at you. I am pretty positive this is going to hit here. Now, Yousef Zalal going up against a Cavalcanti who, hasn't really looked the best, and I would say is washed at this point. And Jose Delgado, heavy money's coming in on him. He's coming off a win off Dana White Contender Series. Young prospect going up against a Matthews who's not looked the best, to be honest with you. Even though he got into the UFC, he just really hasn't looked that great. So, yeah, super confident play here. This is why it's my bet number 1. This is my most confident play and bet of this card here. Yousef Zalal and Jose Delgado. Minus 136, 1.25 units. Moving on. Bet number 2. Another confident bet. All of these are confident, okay? All of them are confident. But this is just, they're ranked in order of confidence. So I had to, pick ones over the other. Valter Walker and Gregory Rodrigues. Another 2-pick parlay. We're putting 1 unit on it. It's sitting at plus 110. Okay, we got plus money here. Now, Valter Walker going up against Don'Tale Mayes. How I anticipate that fight. Easy takedowns. Ground control for 3 rounds. Gregory Rodrigues, this guy is insane. This guy is violent. This guy is deadly. He's going to take out Cannonier. Okay? Max on the rounds here, maybe 3 or 4. Rodrigues is going to get it done. He's shown in all of his other fights, he gets ish done. So Valter Walker, Gregory Rodrigues, 2-pick parlay, plus 110, 1 unit. It's currently sitting at plus 105. So really the odds haven't shifted too much on that one. Super confident play. We move on. Bet number 3. And it's a 3-pick parlay. Okay? You got to put bet number 3 and get a little 3-pick parlay in. Now, these are heavy favorites. Okay? And I expect every single one of them to get the job done. We got Cavalcanti. We got Estevam. And we got Shahbazyan. I got it for plus 100. We're slapping 1 unit on it. It's currently sitting at minus 137, so that's still doable. Okay, minus 137 is still not that bad. But yeah, all 3 of these people are going to get it done. Cavalcanti going to get it done over that old woman she's going up against. Estevam, I expect him to do what he did with Charles Johnson to Aguilar. He just needs to watch those gillies. The guillotine on Aguilar's sick, so he just needs to watch those. And Shahbazyan. Okay, look, they're giving you a freaking layup here. Okay, Dylan Budka is garbage. Knock this guy out. Like you should have done with Mearshart. Excuse me. Yeah, plus 100, 1 unit. Let's go. Bet number 4. we got the Bonfim brothers, both of them, 2-pick parlay. So Gabriel Bonfim and Ismael Bonfim. 1 unit plus 117. It's currently sitting at the same odds, okay? Give me Mario, give me Luigi, give me the brothers, okay? Bonfim and Bonfim. First one going up against Khaos Williams. Now, as long as he can weather that storm, avoid those heavy shots, and get him when he's doing those crazy, combos and gets those openings in. Maybe even a sub if he catches him, get a little couple takedowns in. Nice fence work. Gabriel Bonfim is a solid pick in my opinion. Then we got Ismael Bonfim going up against Sadykhov, who just went to a draw with Slavaclaus, right? And that was a war. But ultimately, it was a draw. Had a couple of wins before that prior, which were nice to add to the resume. But look, the Bonfim brothers didn't both come here together to lose. Okay, Gabriel's gonna get it done against Khaos. Ismael's gonna get it done against I already forgot his name. Sadykhov. So yeah, give me the Bonfim brothers plus 117, 1 unit. Those are the 4 official bets. Okay. Those are the 4 official bets. Again, guys, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, like, comment, share. That support really does go a long way. Appreciate it. Let's move on into the lean section. Now, these are all bets and props that I like and I'm considering. I have not put official money on yet, but I'll tell you what I like. So, first, we're going into these round props. So these are all the round props that I like for this card. First one is the Smith and Morales over 2.5 rounds. That's at minus 298. Look, Taylor Lapilus took Morales 3 rounds, and he's tough. And I think the Smith will do the same thing. I think Smith's going to have the same game plan that he did as Taylor Lapilus did. Keep the range and pick him apart. I don't know if Morales is going to just, because he's 12 years older than Smith. And, you're going to think, Morales is super old. No, he's only 34. Smith's super young. He's 22. So, but I think Smith implements the same game plan that Taylor Lapilus did. And it ultimately goes to decision, and they raise his hand. So, over 2.5 rounds, minus 298. That's something nice to add on to, any parlays that you have. You could slap it onto my first bet, the Zalal and Delgado parlay, to get the odds down because it's at minus 200 if you bet it right now. Anyway, moving on to some more round props. The Bonfim versus Williams fight over 1.5 rounds. I think that they'll be able to take each other on for at least that long. If a finish does come, I think it happens in the later end of round 2 or round 3. Another one I like, that's at minus 154. Vieira versus Petroski. I like the under in that one. I like the under 1.5 rounds of that at plus 150. Now, I think Vieira is going to get it done over Petroski. I think his pressure wrestling and submission game is too elite and something Petroski hasn't seen. He's been going up against garbage recently. Under 1.5 rounds plus 150. But who knows? Petroski could do some crazy stuff too. So you never really know. But plus money for the under 1.5 rounds on that one. Same thing with the Edmen, Shahbazyan, and Dylan Budka fight under 1.5 rounds. That's at plus 140. Edmen's going to knock out Budka. It's just a matter of when. Budka does have energy for like the first 5 minutes, so I could see it happening maybe in round, minute 1.5, in the second round, or in the later end of the first round when Dylan Budka exerts all his energy and is super tired. Last one I like is the Kattar versus Zalal going over 2.5 rounds, minus 220. Zalal is on a submission streak, 3 subs in a row, but I don't think he's doing that to Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar just went up against Aljamain Sterling, who I would argue has better submissions than Yousef Zalal, right? And he just went to the distance with Calvin Kattar, and that was, months ago, right? Not years, months ago, recent. So Zalal over 2.5. The Kattar versus Zalal over 2.5 rounds, sitting at minus 220. I think that's a good little piece too. Those are all the round props that I like. We'll move on into some fighter props that I like. And look, I'm going to start this off with 2 degenerate calls, and just hear me out, okay? Just hear me out on these. Their leans, I might do a little sprinkle on it, but we'll see. The first one's Cavalcanti by sub, plus 1,200. I could see her piecing that old woman up. All right, she already has gray coming out of her, like literally everywhere. All right, and she's fighting in the UFC anyway. I see a world where Cavalcanti's piecing her up and finds one shot to get her knocked down on the ground and locks up a sub real quick, grabs the back. Maybe she does a little arm triangle, something like that. But plus 1,200, I think that's live. And this is going against my pick against Estevam, but it's also live. Aguilar by sub, plus 900. This dude's guillotine is insane. Okay? It is so freaking tight. It is hard to escape. And the way that Estevam be shooting sometimes, he could just slide right into the gilly. I don't know. I could see it happening too. That's worth a sprinkle of plus 900. Just something to consider. Now look, if you're going to look at me and call me crazy, I had the Fernandez by sub call in my leans that week. I didn't sprinkle on it, unfortunately. But look, I got a mind for these crazy things that happen. So next fighter prop I like, which I think is for sure going to happen. Delgado by KO, plus 187. It's probably on its way down now, since this dude's almost at a minus 400 favorite. Delgado, again, he's going to get it done against Matthews. Enough said. Rodolfo by sub, plus 160. Rodolfo Vieira. As I was just saying, I think Petroski hasn't seen anything like this in a while, and I don't think he's going to like it, and I think he's going to get caught off guard, and I think Rodolfo's live for the sub. I think he has good entries on his takedowns from his pretty decent striking, in my opinion. It's just a matter of if he can't get that sub, can he last all the rounds? Because he was gassed. But I that thought kind of escaped me after watching the Chris Curtis fight, because he put on a fight for 3 rounds, and everyone gets tired in the 3rd round, obviously, but he looked way more impressive than he did in that fluffy fight. Whew, that was bad. That was awful. So, last one I have, RoboCop by KO, plus 150. He's gonna, Cannonier will hold up for a little bit, but ultimately, dude, RoboCop's a freaking bully in the octagon, man. He is going to ruin him. RoboCop by KO, plus 150. Those are all the leans. And we move on to the last section, the stay away section. These are fights and bets I recommend you stay away from. Don't put your money on these, okay? Just don't. First one, and I know I just kind of went against it, but I said it was a degenerate call, okay? But if you're putting legitimate units on fights here, the Estevam versus Aguilar fighter props, I probably wouldn't do it. Yeah, Aguilar by sub, I see that's live for sure. But ultimately, at the end of the day, probably something I would avoid. So, next, the round props on the women's fights. Now, everyone's going to say, over 2.5, over 2.5, it's a lock. Do I think that's going to happen? Yeah, I'm like 90% sure those women's fights will go the distance. But I just said Edmen Cavalcanti by sub, plus 1,200, right? And the Ketlen, Souza, and Angela Hill fight. Look, Ketlen Souza knocked the lights out of that Mexican girl, Jarugi, I think, what was her name? In an older Angela Hill, and yes, she's gritty, yes, she's tough, but who knows, man? Maybe she could find that shot, or get a little sub or something. You know what I mean? I just don't trust it. I don't trust either of those fights. So I would stay away from the round props on the women's fights unless you want to take a shot on the unders. Because I think those are at plus 200, I believe. So next is the Elijah Smith versus Vince Morales fight. I would stay away from this fight. Honestly, Vince Morales' odds have been coming down. He was at plus 250, I think I saw. Now he's at plus 130. Everyone's betting on Vince Morales. Elijah Smith's at almost a bettable money line. He's at minus 155. That is a bettable money line. So for right now, I'm staying away from it. But shoot, if Elijah Smith gets to an underdog number, Or if it gets to a pick'em or close to it, I might have to lay down on Elijah Smith because I just don't trust Vince Morales. And lastly, the Vieira versus Petroski money line. I'm staying away from that for sure. I don't know. I'm getting weird vibes from that fight. I told you what I think is gonna happen. Rodolfo by sub under 1.5 rounds. But I just have a weird off feeling about it. Petroski could come out and shock us all. So I'm staying away from that one. That's it, guys. Those are the official bets. All the leans and the stayaways. If you've made it this far, thank you. Appreciate you watching the video. Subscribe, like, comment, share, do all that good stuff. Patreon is in the description. It's free. Let's make some freaking money this week again. Young Pasty, out.